Is Chad going to spend Thanksgiving with you next week?
I don't know. We'll see where we're going.
Spending Thanksgiving in Charlotte, North Carolina with my man Greg.
Well, you'd be 3 hours away.
All right, Greg, let's hit it.
I already hit it.
Oh,
So next week, actually, it looks like we're going to do the show on Friday. So just want to let our viewers know we're not going to disappear for Thanksgiving. So we're going to record the show on, well, actually, it's all up as usual to these boys. Chad Summers is back. And so far, so good on the car, on the audio for the car for the trip. He's almost at his hotel, but we figured, hey, you know what? Let's try to see if we can make it work. And it's working so far. So good to have you back, Chad. John, how was your week?
yes. Good.
Everything's going well. Thanksgiving's next week. It's a big week. We have two races to handicap on the show as usual. One from Churchill and one from Aqueduct. So not many big races out there, just a few graded stakes races, but we have two of them. And matter of fact, the one race that we're going to start with, the grade 2 race at Aqueduct, very rarely do we handicap a race that starts at 148. But that's the case. It's the big race of the day for Aqueduct, and it's an early start. Why do they? What's the thought behind that?
It's going to rain, and the race is trying to run the race on the grass.
It's going to rain on Saturday.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that screws everything up.
But it's a stake race. They'll do everything to keep it on.
It's the last day of grass on the year. They won't run on the grass course again until probably the first week in April.
Right.
So okay. All right. Well, let's get with it. It's a mile and an
Chad
eighth.
Brown has 3 horses. They'll run the race on the grass. If Chad Summers had 3 horses, the race would be rained off the grass.
This is the Hill Prince Stakes. It's a grade 2, 250 for 3-year-olds. There are some lightly raced horses. The favorite of the race, the heavy even money favorite, is Integration. The two starts. You got a 14 and a 9. Ran a 9 last time at this distance. And hey, so far so good, including the grade 3 win with that 9, John. But it's a lightly raced horse at even money.
Yeah, I just have a bad feeling about this horse. He beat me out of a lot of money last time out in career start number 2. They knew he was good. They bet him and went from a 14 to a 9 on the sheet. So that's a 5-point new top. I don't know. I would try to beat him at even money. There's no guarantee that he's going to run off the 9. He has just as good an opportunity to react off of the 9 as he does to repeat it. I would try to beat him.
What about the even money favorite, Chad, Integration? What do you know about this horse?
I mean, he's done nothing wrong. He's been with Shug's B-string at Fair Hill. Even after the win in the Virginia Derby, he went back to Fair Hill. Some horses seem to thrive in that kind of setting. It's more of a farm than a racetrack. It's a nice long walk to the track, and you get turned out in the afternoon, and he seems to be enjoying that. But the thing that's interesting with this horse to me is Shugs McGahee. He's not a guy that gives a lot of time between races. It's not typically his move to, as John might say, try and prevent the bounce from the sheets or something like that. Where normally, like here, if a horse runs a 9, you want to give him a few months, expecting him to maybe regress. But Shug's never been that kind of guy. So it's kind of interesting, seeing this horse went from a maiden race. He got aggressive, ran in the Virginia Derby. It paid off in a big purse. But now kind of goes where they're not still. It's a straight 3-year-old race. One of the last 3-year-old races of the year for straight 3-year-olds. There's one more in California in December, which is a grade 1 in the Hollywood Derby, which I guess would be this race would be a stepping stone to that. And so for that standpoint, I guess it can make a little bit of a sense. But it's interesting how much time he gets kind of between his races. I agree with John. Look, can he win? Absolutely. But at even money, there's still a lot of unanswered questions on this horse. I might want to see one more. I think you have to use him, but I don't think he has to be a top pick. But I'll be honest with you, it's a weird race. There's a lot of lightly raced horses in this race. Horses coming off layoffs. There's a lot of questions in this race, and a lot of different places where you can go. And again, with the rain, keep in mind that it might be a soft turf as well.
John, the top sheet line horse, is Faraday. He's got the
That's
best
not
line of the race, 19, 15, and 12. He also has the combination of Chad Brown and Castellano, which tells me there's no way this horse is going to go off at 10 to 1.
Well, I don't know. He may. Chad Brown has other horses in the race. He's got the 4-horse Equitize where he puts Irad Ortiz on, and he's got I'm Very Busy where he uses many. He doesn't really use Castellano all that often, but I like the 5 the best. Not only that, they had a supplement to put money up. Chad, how much did they have to put up to run?
What was
Yeah,
that?
but Chad Summers probably $5,000. Chad Brown, they probably said, "Don't worry about it. You're good for
All right. Well, they had to pay. You see the S next to his name. They had to supplement him into the race, so they had to dip into their pocket and pay an entry fee where other horses were nominated for it. So
And
they
why
didn't
is
have,
that?
because they never nominated him for it as a baby. Somebody.
I mean, the benefit of looking at it like that, Greg, would be to sit there and say this race wasn't on their radar. Obviously, the other Chad Brown horses were nominated to the race already, so this race wasn't on their radar. The horse is training so well that they said we got to take a shot in this race. That's if you want to read between the lines
Okay.
and be optimistic.
Okay.
That's how you can look at it and be optimistic.
That's how I'm reading it, and the numbers are good. And he's 10 to 1. He's coming off.
And don't forget, Chad Brown won the Philly version of this race last week with a 10 to 1 shot that shouldn't have been 10 to 1.
Right.
Okay. And he's coming off of Kentucky Downs. Is that one of those bad deals?
No, it's a different course. They go up and down hills. It's like a European course.
I know we said something about that a week or two ago.
Whether it's a win or a loss, and John, tell me if you agree with this. Kentucky Downs is its own entity. I throw it off any
I've been trying,
like it didn't even exist.
I've been trying to play horses coming from Kentucky Downs, thinking that they have some sort of condition edge, but it hasn't worked. To be honest with you, some horses run, some horses don't.
It's completely
random.
Like
Just cover it up. It doesn't mean much.
All right, so that's the good sheet horse. Let's take a look at some of the other top contenders in the race. You have the 4 Equitize, another Chad Brown horse. This is Irad Ortiz Jr. on board. Only one race. It's a very impressive 13, but that's all we got on Equitize.
And it was in March, and it was at Tampa. So, he sent a lot of grass horses to Tampa last year. But that being said, he's been away since March. I mean, of course he could win off the layoff, but I'm not keying off him. I'm keying the 5, Farragut.
What about Equitize?
I think that day that he ran, he was much the best that day, and you like the encouragement of seeing Chad Brown not take a conservative route with this horse and run right back in a stake race. Obviously, he was eligible for an allowance race or anything like that, but. Look, the thing is right now in New York is the allowance race didn't go the other day. So the allowance race didn't go on Saturday. It was supposed to go on Saturday and it didn't, or Friday, and they didn't even use it. So this is kind of maybe the backup plan for some horses. Maybe they wanted a little bit of an easier spot and they ended up here. That's something that's kind of insider stuff that you might not know, right? So, and it's tough to really follow that unless you go to the condition book. There's a lot of legwork that has to be done in it. So maybe this was not the intended purpose for this horse. He might have been wanting to run an allowance race and ends up here instead. It is interesting to note, obviously, Irad could have ended up on any of the 3 Chad Brown horses, and really they leave it up to Chad Brown for which one he puts it on. I don't think they ask Irad which one of the 3 he wants to ride. So Chad Brown has put Irad on this one, but Manny Franco rode the one last week that was 10 to 1, and Irad was on a different horse. So, look, I think there's a lot to be said about that. Maybe he needs the race. Maybe he comes on from the race. Again, the good thing for him is this isn't a race that features a lot of heavily raced horses. So he's not completely out of place as far as seasoning is concerned, as you might consider running a stake race with just one race.
All right. The other contenders, Freedom Trail, the 1 is an 8 to 1 shot coming off a 13. You also have the 8, a 6 to 1 shot. I'm Very Busy, has 5 13s in a row after starting with a 16, coming off a win last time out. And then the 9, Classic Catch, is 8 to 1, never been on turf, ran an 8 a couple of starts ago on dirt. So what about those 3 horses, John?
Well, I don't know anything about the 9. He never turfed. I guess he has some breeding. The 1 certainly has a shot. He's 8-1. He's drawn inside. That's why I like the 1 better than the 8, because the 1 drew the rail. So I think that's an advantage. And, that's the way I see it.
Look, Freedom Trail is a horse that the barn has been very, very excited about and very high on for a long time. But we've been waiting for this horse to finally show up with one of these efforts, and we've been waiting and waiting and waiting, and it's been a year now, and he still hasn't won a race in over a year. He's got all the ability in the world, but I mean, like, what do you do in this situation? You know, I used to call, there's a horse back in the name Dollar Bill. And I always call it a dollar bill syndrome, because everyone was like, he's sitting on a win, and would never win a race. And you just sit there and go, at some point, like, when do you go back to the well one more time, or do you jump ship? And he's the perfect example, because you watch his races, and he's competitive, and his numbers are competitive, and he's hit the board a few times, but he hasn't crossed the wire. And at some point, is today the day, or is it I've just had enough?
What I like is you've got the fact he likes the track, 3 for 3 with 2 wins at the track. And he's also improved in all 3 of his races at the track, 17, 15, 13. Lost by a neck last time, as you said, Chad, so it seems to be getting closer, and you're getting 8-1. And then as far as the long shots, the only one I wanted to ask you about was the 2, the Pletcher horse, who the former Pletcher horse, was just a disaster on dirt, then was gelded, then switched to Michael Maker. Since then, the horse has improved over the last several races, including at this track, 16, 15. I'm not saying he's going to win the race or maybe even finish second. Maybe he gets third. But is that a horse that might be somebody to look at in the future, in the near future? Is he coming on a little bit now that he's gone through all those changes?
You'll know after this race. He is coming off a Lasix. Listen, he's on the improve. He's a New York bred. He's running against Kentucky horses. He's all right. I mean, but he would have to show marked improvement. I don't know if you're going to get it Saturday.
Yeah, I think this is a little bit of take a shot, kind of like we talked about before, as being, a chance to run against straight 3-year-olds instead of having to run against older horses. You take the gamble. Owner 3 Diamonds Farm, they've had a lot of success over the last few years doing things like this. Mike Maker obviously is a maestro when it comes to the turf course, but this is a little bit more than I'm willing to chew.
All right, John, who are you going with? The 5?
I like the 5. I'm using them in exactas with the 1, 3, and 4 underneath. 5 with 1, 3, 4, and reverse them small.
Chad?
So the half brother to the 5 is a horse named Wilpie's Nightingale, which is one of my favorite horses.
Oh,
really cool horse.
Who else that horse is related to? Someone really good.
Yeah, the horse that always ran second for Tom Amatrani.
No, you know who I'm talking. There was another horse that made a lot of money.
Yeah.
Who was it?
I don't remember his name, but
maybe our viewers will let us know.
He started with Jimmy Jerkins, and then he ended up with Amatrani. But I don't think he ever made a start for Jimmy Jerkins. Look, he's just. I think he's the right horse at the right time. I don't want to say that the Chad Brown barn are playing games, but I think all 3 horses are live, and I'll go with the longer shot.
So what was that?
I'm gonna agree with John and go with the 5.
Oh, so we're all going with the 5. Is that it? Just straight 5?
Yeah, I think anything can happen underneath. Obviously, you gotta you have to respect Shug's horse. The one horse inside for Terranova, has run well, just not well enough. Some of these other Chad Brown horses, if Chad Brown's 1-2, it's not going to shock me. So, I'm going to play the race light. I'm not going to go very heavy in the race. I think it's a competitive race, and obviously, keep one eye at the AccuWeather.com and see how much rain we get. I will say this: if it rains, I would look to whoever the fastest horse in the race is, because that turf course plays heavy to speed when it's soft and when it's wet.
So that would be integration.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go with 5/1. Okay, now let's talk about Churchill. And
Chad, who do you want? I'm sorry, Chad. What do you want? 5 with who?
Just the 5.
Oh, okay.
Just the 5. Just lightly on the 5.
Good.
Lightly marinate on the 5.
Okay.
All right. Race number 10 at Churchill will go off about 4 hours after our first race, and this is the Grade 3 Chilukki. This is
That's it.
a $300,000 purse. Fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. Taking a look at the top horses odds-wise, morning line odds-wise, you have Hidden Connection. That's the 3, the 5 to 2 shot. Calhoun trained, Gaffleone on board. So that's the morning line favorite. And then you also have Hot and Sultry at 7 to 2. That's the 9 with Ricardo Santana Jr. on board. Let's start with Hidden Connection, the favorite of the race, John. First of all, coming off a 9 last time out in the Grade 3 race at Churchill. His numbers have slowly gotten better. He did run a 10 in April, then went 13, 13, 12, and 9. Did run an 8. That was last year. So do you think that there's even better to come for Hidden Connection, or you see maybe a step back here?
He could certainly improve. She could certainly improve. She's a 4-year-old. She's allowed to get better, but I don't know if I want to bet her as a short price. We have other horses in the race that I think are just as fast or faster, including the 4 Au revoir. I mean, I think this horse is really sitting on a big race, and she's going to be a price. And that's who I like in the race.
I mean, look, the thing with Hot and Sultry, I mean, she might be the best horse in the race. If this race was a sprint, I agree with you, but I really don't think she wants to go a mile.
Well, but okay, she's fine. I like the 4 Au revoir. I think that's the way to pronounce it. I don't know.
I love a horse in this race.
Is it the 6?
Let's hope it's a long shot. Who is it?
It's the one horse Nostalgic. Look, she's as good as anything. Godolphin's going to be probably the winner of the Owner of the Year. Bill Mott is probably going to win Trainer of the Year Eclipse Award. This filly was completely compromised last time in a 4-horse field where she was a little bit closer to the pace than I think she wanted to do, and that's not really her game. With Hot and Sultry and some of these others in the race, she should be able to work out a good trip and kind of sit mid-pack. I'm surprised that Junior's not there, but other than that, I mean, she certainly has a more than suitable replacement rider. I think Nostalgic, if she can run the race she ran at Saratoga, which I think she's more than capable of, I think she's good enough to win this race. And 9 to 2, I think is certainly fair odds. Especially there's a lot of money in the pools over there. I mean, we got Smoking Tea last week home, and I think he paid like $13 or something in the race we did on the air last week. I think that Nostalgia is going to be tough here, and I think you get fair value at 9 to 2.
Yeah, Nostalgic. Now the thing that looks concerning, John, on the sheets is that when she ran an 8 in July, the next 2 races were 10 and 14. So
yeah, I mean, I think she's bouncing, and I think she's in trouble breaking from the rail with Giroux. I know what's going to happen. You could take it to the bank. He's going to get shuffled back, and you'll be cursing around the turn, Chad. Take my word for it.
Oh,
you think he's going to get a Rosario right?
Let's talk about Au revoir. As John mentioned, if we only talk about the horses as far as the racing here on dirt, you look at the last 2 races, a 6 in July and a 9 in May. So nobody's got anywhere, I believe, close to a 6 in this field. And Au revoir did that his very last race on dirt, 6.5 furlongs. This one being a little bit more than a mile. So 5 to 1 Au revoir, John.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I'm betting a horse that's fast, that's a price. There's nothing wrong with that recipe.
4 straight wins as well, and 14 out of 22. What about the 4, Chad?
No, look, if you like her, you like her. I think this is a little bit of a class test for her. I think this is going to be the toughest field that she's had to face, and I'm going to take the filly that's got a little bit more chutzpah.
All right. And you haven't named that filly yet, have you? Oh, Nostalgic. Okay.
Nostalgic.
What about Braganza? A 12 to 1 shot. Braganza has had some good races and some bad races this year. So it's kind of hard to tell what you're going to get, but it is a 12 to 1 shot. Does have 2 wins out of 3 at Churchill. Ran an 8 in April. What about Braganza, John?
It's one of my hookup horses.
Okay.
I'm using her.
Chad, what about Braganza?
Just not for me.
All right. Also, you got talk about hot and sultry. You got the 7-2 shot, back-to-back 12s. Ran a 9 in March before those two 12s. The 9, I believe, is a career best. 1 for 2 with Churchill. So what about hot and
One for
sultry?
one for one at the distance also.
When
Yep.
did she win at the distance?
She won at Churchill at a mile.
Yep.
Really?
The last race she
That
ran
was
for
it
us.
last July.
I don't think she wants to go that far. I'm surprised that she won in a mile. I mean, she's a nice horse, but I don't think she wants to go that far.
Well, what about the 4 Falconet 4-1 shot? This is the Pletcher horse, who's run a 14 and a 13 and a 13 in the last 3 starts. Yet the 4-1 shot is Falconet with Saez on board.
That's a 7. Why do you want to bet her at 4-1? A 13's not going to get you anything.
I hate this horse. They've been chasing black type with this horse all the time. I don't think this horse is very good.
She's not good.
I think
She's
this is her last
slow.
career start. I think they're trying to get her more black type before she hits the breeding shed. I don't think she's a very good horse. They've run this filly. I've watched this. I don't.
Chad, she's slow also.
I don't like this horse.
Me neither.
She can't sing the
But
5.
we'll take money with Todd with
Yes,
Louis
she's
We'll take
4-1
money.
morning line. Yes.
Chris Block has both the 4 and the 5. The 5 she can't sing is 8-1. The last time she was on dirt, she had a 15 and a 13. The 13 was at Churchill. Also ran an 8 on dirt back in 2020, but this is a 6-year-old making her 39th start.
Yeah, we're now in 2023, so she's going to wait 3 more years. I don't like her.
And
Yeah, I mean, there's backlash. The one thing I'll say when people talk about backlash, and John, you watch more races than I do, but I feel like that backlash thing works almost a lot more with colts and geldings than it does with fillies. If fillies were in good form 3 years ago, I don't think that carries forward.
For sure. And you know when it works best, Chad? When there's a trainer change and a trainer upgrade and a trainer, that has him today is going to do a lot better than the previous trainer and get him back to his old number.
Fine, okay.
That's what it matters. Not with fillies and not in this case.
Yeah, I agree with that.
John, your pick?
4 over 369. Au revoir with the 3 hidden connection, the 6 Bergans, and the 9 hot. Exact person said.
Okay. Chad?
I'll take nostalgic, and I got a feeling there's going to be a bomb. So I would play nostalgic with everybody in the trifecta.
Ooh.
And I don't like some of these shorter price horses. Maybe Hidden Connection can hit the board. Maybe. I'm not told that she's really ever moved forward from 2 to 3.
You don't want her to hit the board if you're going all. She's the favorite.
No, but that's what I'm saying. See, the other horses that are low odds, I don't believe in going a mile. And so nostalgic at 9-2. I think here's a chance you can make some money in an exacta try whatever, at a big price.
So
just a thought.
It's 1 over.
All overall.
Try 1 all.
What number's that?
If the 1 wins, he hits the try.
Oh, you just said 1. You didn't. Okay.
Yeah, 1 with all.
I thought you were naming another horse. I was like, "Where's that other horse? All? Couldn't find it in here.
He's a half
brother to Part Wheel.
No rider.
All right, now I'll go 6 over 4. Okay, so that's going to wrap it up. Now we are. It looks like we're going to be doing next Friday. What are you doing on Thanksgiving, Chad? I think we opened the show with that.
Yeah.
I have no idea where I am tomorrow. You think I'm going to do what I'm doing for Thanksgiving? I'm thankful that I'm still here. I don't know. Look,
and there were 2 grade 2 stakes at Churchill and a grade 2 at Delmar on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, they got the Clark. The Clark on
if
Friday.
we do the show Friday, that'll take care of Thursday's races. So.
I think. Look, I think there's a lot going on. I'm excited to go make my maiden visit to Mahoning Valley. I've never been there before.
Mahoney? Is that Mahoning Valley?
Heading over to Mahoning for a race on Monday. So looking forward to participating in a new track. It's a bucket list thing. I like seeing new tracks.
How far is the race?
The race is 6 furlongs.
Oh, 6 furlongs? Okay.
Yes.
By the way, the
All right.
Hollywood Derby is the next big race. That's going to be at Del Mar on December 2nd. So
Happy Thanksgiving to everybody if we don't see you before Thursday.
yes, happy Thanksgiving to one and
Will
all.
you go to the parade on Thursday, John? If you're going to New York, are you going to go to the Macy's Day Parade?
No, I don't go to the
The
gathering.
parade.
I haven't been the same since Bart Simpson hit a light post. I was right outside when it happened. I was crushed as a 10-year-old having a bagel outside of my cousin's office as a chiropractor.
That explains everything.
From the Macy's Day Parade
that really explains it all.
Yes.
All
it
right,
really does.
Stay safe, everybody. Be well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, that's going to wrap it up. Let's just recap the picks. They're pretty simple on this week's show. It was good to have Chad back full time. And we are going to go with Aqueduct. We have all of us jumping on the 5. And that is the horse by the name of Faraday. And as I said, the sheet line is pretty simply the best. 19, 15, 12. Can't beat that. If Faraday continues with that trajectory, it's going to be hard to beat. You're getting 10-1. You're getting Chad Brown. You're getting Castellano. As I said, though, I don't think we're getting 10-1. I'll be happy if we got 5 or 6-1, be honest with you. I've done these shows long enough with these guys to know when we feel like we have a horse that is not too good to be true, but in that kind of context, that it just isn't. So it'd be nice if we I know we've talked about it before, but maybe there's a way for us to get a little bit more seriously involved in being able to acquire the odds on the horses like today. I know we've talked about that. So I know our viewers have mentioned that as well. So if maybe there's a way for us to actually get involved with that, because there are horses that we have talked about on this show for the past year that, I mean, I don't know how many times you guys know it, especially Chad. Chad will pick a horse that's 10 or 12-1 and it's time to handicap the race, a few minutes to post, and the horse is 4-1 or 3-1. So if we can lock these odds in somewhere, maybe that'd be like a cool thing for us to start doing. All right, so John is going to go along with the 5, 1, 3, and 4. So that's Freedom Trail, the morning line favorite, the 3 horse, and the 4 Equitize. And that 1 horse who has the highest odds at 8-1. As I mentioned, 3 times the horse has raced at Aqueduct. He has improved all 3 in the race, where she has 17, 15. The 17-15 were the first 2 races of her career. Both wins at Aqueduct. Okay. Then we don't see her at Aqueduct again until the last race, September 21st, lost by a neck and improved upon the sheet to 13. So for me, I mean, John obviously has his own way of thinking and interpreting the sheets and his way of interpreting it. And I know he'll probably say, well, there's only one way to interpret it, his way. But what I mean by interpreting it is how you use it. And I've had success using it over my tiny little handicapping career for horse racing by, hey, you know what? If it says 17, 15, and 13, I don't care if the 17 was 6 months ago, like this. The 17 was last September. I don't care if it's a year ago. As long as it's not a 6-year-old and this was 2 years ago and 1 year, that's different. But if I've got a horse that's only 3 years old and his first 2 races were 17, 15, his third race was 13, well, to me, that's just as good if it's the last 3 races, 17, 15, 13. I'm going to interpret it the same way. And I've had pretty good success doing that. So we'll see whether or not that can, work out for us here. I also like the fact that, again, only 3 of the races at Aqueduct, all in the money, 2 wins. 1 second by a neck. So moving on to Churchill, and John is going to go with the 4, Over Rare. Chris Block has a couple of horses in the race This is the Loveberry ridden horse. Now, of where, as I said, at Hawthorne ran a 6 on dirt. Before that, ran a 9 on dirt at Hawthorne. So he has what? In the last, well, just by looking at the form, let's just say the last 3 races, 13, 9, and 6. So that, you like to see that going in that direction. And he's been pretty consistent on turf as well. And just this year on turf, 4 11s and 2 14s. So that's okay. Lots of wins. As Chad said, though, the horse is now going to be stepping up in class. So that also, of course, the racetrack. Never raced on dirt Churchill. Actually, this horse raced. No, this horse did race at Churchill at dirt. What was I looking at? I was just looking at the fact that the previous 2 bests, the 6 and the 9, were at Hawthorne. And this horse ran at Churchill, as you can see on the form, in May, but that was on turf. So anyway, bottom line is nobody's got a 6 in the race. And that's the difference between the sheets and the daily racing form. You're going to look at that and you're going to go, well, wait a second, major step up in class. So I'm going to just toss this one out. But the sheets say, well, don't necessarily do that because the 6 is better than you've seen on any of these other horses. And it's kind of everybody's. I mean, you look at what Chad said about the horse and the way John is looking at that 6, and they're both right. I think the question is going to be, how did this horse? What's the odds? Right now, 5 to 1. Again, it's like right in the middle. Everything's in the middle. Chad's right, John's right. The odds are in the middle. How's it going to work out? Does Avoir go down to 3 to 1, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, nah, that's too rich, or does it go to 7 to 1? Now it's like, oh, wait a second, I may have a bargain here, or it sits at 5 to 1, and then it's anybody's guess. So John's going with the 4 over the 3, 6, and 9. The 3 is the favorite of the race. The 6 and the 9. 9 is the second choice. The 6 is the one that I'm going with to win the race. Braganza. Again, I like the fact that even though you're hit or missing with the horse, there are better hits. There's 4 hits and 2 misses this year. So you've got the 28 in January to start the year. And then the 25 at Saratoga in July. Both of those races, this horse finished 5th. He also finished 5th on turf. But in the other races, 10-8, 10-10, the horse finished 2nd, 1st, and 1st. 2 of the wins at Churchill. Actually, one of the wins were at Churchill during that stretch. Does have 2 out of 3 wins at Churchill. Also 1 win at this distance out of 2. And you're getting 12 to 1. That's my top horse. The 4 would be my second choice, Avoir. And Chad's going to go nostalgic as his top play. He's got that William Mott factor going there. Again, now you got the big difference between Chad and the sheets, because the sheets are telling you he's going in the opposite direction. Hits the 8, and now he's going the wrong way. But Chad doesn't care about the sheets on today. Well, for most days. That's not how he handicaps. He likes the horse. Nostalgic at 9 to 2. And that's going to wrap it up. I do want to mention one of the comments we had on the show from Ted Tucholsky. And Ted brought up, this was a couple weeks ago, this would have been easier to follow the show if you had a list of entries posted on the screen as we were discussing the race. I did reply to Ted. The deal is that, you pay for these. I can't really show it. So you pay for these. And I can't show that. That wouldn't work out very well for us. At some point, we wouldn't be. What they could easily do is make sure that the show doesn't get monetized, and they would force us. Who knows? They might let it go, but I'm not going to ruffle any feathers, and that's the reason why we don't. I wish I could. I really do. I wish I could. Matter of fact, we used to show the sheets, but then that just gets a lot of things that go into that. And the fact is if you want to purchase the sheets, you can do that. And we give you a whole bunch of information regarding the sheets on this race anyway. So I don't really think that's totally necessary. But we do. I definitely if I was even watching this race or watching handicappers like John and Chad, if I wasn't the host and I was just listening to the two of them, I personally would purchase the sheets anyway. I mean, and I think you all would want to do the same thing, because you're not going to listen to, at least I don't think so, that you're going to listen to John and Chad religiously and take everything they say as gold and everything they say is winner, because it's not. But instead, you're going to take what they say to go along with what you say, and then your handicapping analysis goes in with theirs, and you're hoping, or at least what I hope, is that it kind of, hey, what I like, they're kind of saying, or they're saying something that makes sense with what I like, but I'm still going to go with my choice. And then if these guys are making some really good points, well, I'm going to put a few bucks on their horses as well. That's just me. And I'm sure you guys do the same. You have your own tunnel vision of what you like, and you're going to go with that no matter what. But you're always going to also respect these guys and take their word and say, okay, I don't agree, but I'll put money on it, because they've come through for us before, as you know. And it's only $5 at Patreon. That is it. And I know that there are some people out there that are wondering about, well, I didn't see the show on YouTube last week. And I've said this before, we're not always going to put the show on YouTube. When we do put the show on YouTube, the shows are going to be available on race day. And sometimes you're going to get the entire show, but most of the time you're not. So if you want the entire show, if you want it every week and you get it on Thursdays every week, then you go to the account description area. There's a link in there. It's very simple. You order your subscription's just $5 a month. That's it. So you're talking about $60 a year. $60 a year. And you know how many times these guys have given you winners that are, I mean, you can make that back with 1 or 2 winners from Chad or John. That's it. And the rest of the year, you're making money. So it's a no-brainer, and it's also fun to make sure that you get the entire show, so you know all the time what these guys are talking about. But anyway, I just want to let you know the whole reason why we don't, if you don't see it on YouTube, it's just because that's the week we're not going to do it. Because you can look at it a couple different ways. Sometimes we have people at Patreon like, well, why am I had somebody actually say this a couple weeks ago, why am I paying money at Patreon when you're posting it on YouTube? And I explained the whole process with that. So now I'm probably getting people at YouTube going, well, I thought you said you were going to post it here on for free. So you're always going to have that give and take. But the fact of the matter is, we're not asking you for $50 a month. We're asking you for $5 a month, and it's a pretty good deal. So, and then when we make it available for you on YouTube, then you get the information for free as well. So I'm going to get out of here. Next week, we'll see what happens. I mean, I have no idea if we're going to do the show on if we do the show on Thanksgiving and record the show on Thanksgiving to have it available on Thursday night like our normal Thursdays, then you'll know. Chances are we're not going to do the races on Thursday, though. I doubt that. So my best guess a week in advance would be that next week we'll record it either on Thursday, same kind of time frame, like a regular Thursday for us. And then we'll probably target the Friday races, which next week, the Friday or the Saturday races actually. Next week on Friday, we'll have the 2 Grade 2s at Churchill, the Hollywood Turf Cup to Grade 2 at Del Mar. So we'll take a look, see maybe those are the races we'll do. Maybe we'll do a Friday deal. But if we go to Saturday, we have 2 Grade 2s at Churchill. We have a Grade 3 at Aqueduct. We have a Grade 2 at Del Mar. So we have a lot more graded stakes races to choose from on next week's show. We will be back next week, so we're not going to skip a week. And I don't think we've skipped a week in years. I mean, these guys have skipped because they've had to, but if they're not on, and sometimes it's happened that way, and I've been on. So that's the one thing we pride ourselves is, that we've been pretty consistent here for years, that every week we're going to have a show. So as John said, if we don't get to you by after Thanksgiving, a happy Thanksgiving to all of our patrons and all of our viewers on YouTube as well. We'll see you again next week. And then a few more to go before the end of the year. And by the way, at some point on the show, before the end of the year, I will do like a recap. We'll take a look at the beginning of the year predictions from Chad and Jon and see what they got right, see what they got wrong, because we're going to do it all over again in about a month. We're going to have our 2024 predictions and our 2024, I forget what else we did, but we're going to have some fun with it as always. So if you want these guys to answer anything, or to have like, if you want them to have like a category to predict from, like, hey, make sure that they do this this yearly prediction for this specific topic. Let me know. I'll put it into the topics, and I'll go, all right, Chad and Jon, this is what they want to know. What do you think for this year? What's your prediction? What's your prognosis for 2024 on this topic? So also check the description area so you can get to Discord. Discord gives you the opportunity to interact with us a lot quicker, easier, and more often. And that's for free. All right, everybody. Again, have a great Thanksgiving if we don't talk to you by then, and we'll see you soon.